Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I want to just make a short video for you guys talking to you about a new climbing position I've been using and having success with, and I wanted to just explain kind of how I've altered my handlebar position to accommodate this this new technique. Back when about a week ago, excuse me, after I did the Bristol Mountain Road race, I did a little race recap video telling you guys about how the race went. And during that video, I told you guys I would be making a video talking to you about a new climbing technique I've been experimenting with, and seeing some positive results in my training and racing. And I told you guys I'd talk more about that when I had more time. And yesterday I posted a video just kind of giving you guys like a 1-year review on my Pinarello Dogma, and somebody commented on the video kind of asking me like why my handlebars look kind of so tilted forward and kind of in an awkward position. So I figured, you know what, now would be a good time to talk about this this situation. So obviously, if you guys have been following my channel, you guys know I like to climb. I consider myself a decent climber. It's certainly the discipline within cycling I'm the best at. It's my best attribute as a cyclist, is my climbing ability. And so therefore, obviously, I'm trying to maximize my ability at climbing. And I'm always, experimenting, trying to find, new ways to be faster on climbs. I mean, let's face it, I'm just always trying to improve my capabilities on the climbs. And, anybody that's, into cycling or is familiar with, cycling's past, especially if you're into climbing, you've probably heard of the name Marco Pantani. For anybody not familiar, Marco Pantani was an Italian cyclist, was really kind of at his peak abilities in the mid-late 90s. And, a lot of people consider Marco Pantani as like the greatest climber in cycling history. He certainly has got a magnitude of, really impressive results in his racing career. I mean, he was nabbed for doping, but I mean, let's face it, guys. I mean, that was the thing back then in that era. And regardless, doping or not, the guy could climb on a bicycle. And one thing that he was known for was kind of a unique unique climbing style or body position when he was climbing. And he was known, as this guy who could just, climb, these long mountain stretches and just go long durations of time climbing out of the saddle in the drops. And, of course, I've seen a lot of, Marco Pantani videos, and I've, read articles about him and stuff. And I've always been intrigued by his climbing technique. And, when I first, got serious about bike riding and bike racing, I experimented around with that position a little bit, but it just seemed like it just kind of like loaded up my legs with, my legs would just burn a little more in that position, and I just didn't think it would work for me. So I've always kind of, when I climbed out of the saddle, I was always more of an on the hoods kind of guy. Just felt more natural for me. Still to this day, that feels a tad bit more natural to me. But the last, 3 weeks or so, I've really been kind of, getting back and saying to myself, you know what, I'm going to try and see if I can make this work and just see, how it affects my performance if I actually do it. And I kind of, have been just kind of sticking with it, kind of forcing myself, through some longer intervals, riding in this, out of the saddle in the drops technique. And what I've been finding is that my body's actually kind of adjusting to this, and it's becoming a lot more comfortable for me to where now I can actually go long durations and climb out of the saddle in the drops. And the one thing I have found is that it is increasing my ability to produce and sustain power. Basically, I can produce more power for longer riding out of the saddle in the drops than I can riding out of the saddle in the hoods. I just got more leverage to the bicycle. And, that's why I've altered the positions, the handlebar position on, I've done it on pretty much every bike I've got now. my Pinarello Dogma is probably, the way I've got this set up is probably the most pronounced. But again, it's just because, this is a little different handlebar than my other bicycles I've got. And on this Zip Aero bar, it's a little bit more compact design. And pretty much the reason why I've done that is because, like I said, I'm basically, whenever I'm into a pivotal moment, a pivotal climb, even like a pivotal flat moment, I'm getting up out of the saddle in the drops. And the way I've got my handlebars positioned, it just allows me to get, a really good, ergonomical feel when I'm in that position. It keeps my hand and my wrist in a straight position, and I'm not like, kind of like angled like this. So I've got my handlebars, long story short, I've got my handlebars positioned to where when I'm out of the saddle in the drops, I've got basically the most natural, most power-producing type feel to the handlebar. And I'm willing to make adjustments when I'm on flats and riding the hoods, and I'm actually finding it quite comfortable even when I'm on the flats also. But I'm willing to sacrifice a tad bit of comfort for those scenarios in order to be at my peak, abilities when it comes to a serious climb or I really need to put in a serious effort. So I'm maximizing my abilities in that position, and altering the handlebars is allowing me to do so. And it's just it more or less is just putting me into a good ergonomical position, when I'm out of the saddle in the drops. And I've been riding this way pretty much exclusively now when I'm doing my intervals or I'm doing hills. I went for a ride yesterday. Actually, like I said, guys, in that Bristol Mountain race, I rode pretty much every hill in that Bristol Mountain Road race out of the saddle in the drops. I set 4 KOMs during that race. I finished fourth in a pro race. I'm a Cat 3 rider. I really, have found a pretty pronounced difference in my ability to produce power riding this way. I'm going to stick with it. It's working for me. I did a ride yesterday, which was mostly an endurance, tempo type ride, went 100 miles. But during that ride, I targeted 3 KOMs that I wanted to go back after, and I took all 3, rode all 3 in the drops out of the saddle, produced some pretty good power numbers. Really happy with how things are going. So, I know this is maybe a little bit long-winded, explanation of what's going on, but I wanted to give you guys a detailed, explanation of why I've made this change. And I'm sure people, are going to look at my bars moving forward and be like, why are his handlebars so tilted forward? But honestly, it's just what I need to do to basically give myself the best body position when I'm in the drops, out of the saddle, climbing, which for me is my new way of climbing. It's working for me. I'm producing better power. I'm just climbing faster that way. And if I can climb faster that way, I'm going to stick with it. So just wanted to give you guys a little brief explanation of why that's the case. So there you have it. Again, guys, I appreciate the support and all on the channel. Look forward to seeing you guys right back here in my next video.